So today's lecture is going to talk about how to obtain demographic data that we can easily map. So not just demographic data with place names, but demographic data that is geo-referenced. And I have a couple things that I want to cover in this video. The first, I want to give a quick flashback, talk about census geography. This is something we talked about when we introduced georeferencing, and I want to go back to that and just remind you about some of the characteristics of census geography in the United States. I want to briefly talk about different census data products, and then introduce you to American Fact Finder. So we'll start by just taking a quick flashback back to one of the first weeks of the semester where we talked about georeferencing. This is week 4. Census geography, right, is designed to represent place names in a structured, systematic way. And so where we are used to talking about the state of Missouri or the city of St. Louis, we use FIPS codes to reference those place names. So the state FIPS code for Missouri is 29, and the county FIPS code for St. Louis City, remember St. Louis City is an independent county, and so we have our own county code, is 510. You can see here the metro county place names for the Metro West area of St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and a number of the outlying counties. Each of those counties has a corresponding county ID, and you can mate that with the state ID to come up with a unique reference for every county in the country. So for St. Louis, our county ID is 510. Combine that with our state code, 29, and you have a unique identifier for the county that we live in. Each county in the United States is subdivided into census tracts. Tracts are identified with a 6-digit code that can, just as counties can be paired up with state IDs, tract IDs can be paired up with county IDs to uniquely identify each census tract in the United States. This is a single census tract. It was the census tract highlighted in red on the previous map, and you can see that census tracts are subdivided into what we call census block groups. So this particular census tract has 3 block groups that it's subdivided into. Block groups have a single digit identifier that you combine with the tract ID to uniquely identify block groups within a county. Census block groups are further subdivided into census blocks. These are individual sampling units that we use to collect census data. So I've taken that block group that we looked at previously, and I've shown you now here on this slide how it is subdivided into census blocks. We can zoom in on one particular block that contains Morrissey Hall, where our class is located, and you can see a full census ID number that begins with the state ID and goes all the way to the block level. So this uniquely identifies the space Morrissey Hall is located in within the United States. So again, this is designed to be a quick overview of census geography. If you need a bit more of a review, go back and check out the lecture materials from week 4. What I want to talk about next is how we get demographic data about different census geographies. Our main source of data at these different census geographies is the Census Bureau themselves. The U.S. Census Bureau is a unit within the Department of Commerce. The Department of Commerce is a cabinet-level position in the executive branch of the U.S. government. And the Census Bureau carries out the constitutionally mandated census that takes place every 10 years in the United States. And that census is one of a number of products that we use regularly from them. In addition to the census, there's 2 other major surveys that are regularly collected by the U.S. Census Bureau. So one is the American Community Survey. The American Community Survey, we call it the ACS, is a relatively new product. It replaced what used to be called the long-form U.S. Census. And so up until 2000, when the US Census was collected, everyone had to fill out what was known as the short form. Some people were selected through a sampling strategy to fill out a much longer form. And what the Census Bureau has done is replace that long form census with a regular survey of the United States that's designed to provide more detailed data on a yearly basis about the United States, and that's what the American Community Survey is. The big difference between the ACS and the census, other than the fact that the ACS is regularly collected and the census is only collected every 10 years, is that the American Community Survey provides estimates for population data at different census geographies. That means there is a margin of error associated with each estimate. That margin of error is included in all the data tables you're going to download from American Fact Finder. It's important to understand that, one, these are estimates, and two, that those estimates are going to vary based on geography. So data at the census block group, while it is available through the ACS, is subject to a higher degree of uncertainty than data collected, say, or estimates made at the county level. They also collect something called the Current Population Survey, designed to provide kind of detailed economic data on individuals in the United States in a representative fashion. And they produce Tiger. Tiger is the primary source of spatial data for the United States as a whole. So many of the shapefiles we're using this semester, county level boundaries, state level boundaries, census geography boundaries, road and rail networks, those originate in the Census Tiger database. We can access all the survey data, American Community Survey data, the census data, CPS data, via a website called American Fact Finder. Okay, so next I want to talk about American Fact Finder. American Fact Finder is a U.S. Census Bureau website that gives you access to all of the various Census Bureau data products for demographic data. And so this is what their homepage looks like. You can get to it by going to factfinder.census.gov. And when you get to the homepage, you've got a couple of choices. There's this way to search for community facts. This is really easy if you just want some general information, say, about the city of St. Louis. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is to click on Advanced Search. From Advanced Search, you want to click on Show Me All, and you'll be taken to the American Fact Finder search page. You've got a lot of choices here, from searching by topic area, searching for particular social groupings, or searching by geography. And for our class, the easiest way to get the information that you need is to choose geographies. The geographies pop-up window gives you access to select a wide range of different types of spatial data, different units of analysis. And what I want to do for this example is choose census tracts and choose those for the state of Missouri. From there, we can narrow down our census tract selection by county. There's a bit of a quirk with this. Because the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County are technically separate, they, however, are not listed separately in that drop-down menu. And so what you need to do is choose St. Louis and then specify whether you want all tracts within the city of St. Louis or all tracts within St. Louis County. Once you've clicked Add to your selections, the data that you get from searching in American Fact Finder will be restricted to that observational unit. So you will only see data that is available at the census tract level. And that's really important because not all pieces of information are available at every unit of analysis that the Census Bureau publishes data for. So you are able to get data, say at the census tract, that is not available at the census block group, for example. So what we want to do now is close the geographies pop-up window. And from there, we can further limit our search results by the year of the data product. So in this case, we can pick 2010. And by the available program. So in this case, if we want data from the 2010 US Census, we can choose that as our option. And we will get a listing of every data table available for census tracts in the city of St. Louis from the 2010 census. I will say that searching for information in American Fact Finder can be really challenging. So we often need some trial and error, scrolling through different windows, opening different data tables to find the exact set of demographic data that works for the question that we want to answer. And so American Fact Finder, you can use the search by table name or topic, but that can be hit or miss. So if you are looking around in American Fact Finder for particular types of data, just go in knowing that you may need to dig around to get what you're looking for. You will also get a lot of search results. So just for the 2010 US Census, there's 490 data tables. You will get 25 tables per page. So you may have to scroll through the first page or even scroll around through multiple pages to find what you're looking for. There are navigation tools at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen that you can use to move between pages. There are also navigation tools at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. We can click on page 2, scroll through, look for the info we're looking for, and just cruise on through to page 3. The table I am looking for is H5 vacancy status, and I can click on that table name. And I will get a preview of the data table from American Fact Finder. Now it's really important to note this is not machine readable data. So what we need to do is get it from the format that we see on the screen here into a format that Stata and ArcGIS can work with. And we can do that by going up and clicking on the download button. This will give us the download pop-up window. And what we can do is download the data in the CSV file format that we've been working with all semester. We want to make sure we choose the second of the two CSV options, data and annotations in separate files. This makes the import process into Stata much easier. From there, we can go ahead and click OK. American Fact Finder will build our data table for us, the downloadable version, and that's that blue progress bar that you see. So that is not actually your computer downloading the data, that is the website preparing the data to be downloaded. Once that blue progress bar shows that the table construction is complete, you can click the download button and you will get a zip file sent to your downloads folder that contains all of the data and metadata associated with that table. You extract those data from the zip file. You should have 4 files for this particular table. 2 text files with that .txt file extension and 2 CSV files. The text files are going to be some generic information about these data. The CSV files are going to contain the metadata, so the definitions for each of the variables, as well as the actual data themselves. So there's a file that has an underscore metadata at the end of the file name. That's going to be the metadata. The CSV file without that metadata label is going to contain the raw data itself. Open up the metadata file in Microsoft Excel. You'll see that the first column contains all the variable names, and the second column contains the variable labels. So some additional detail about what each of those variables represents. This can be very useful for reference later, so hang on to this metadata file. The data table, on the other hand, contains a row with the variable names along the top, a second row with the variable labels, and then each subsequent row will contain a single observation at the given observational units. So in this case, they're census tracts, so each row, beginning with row 3, is going to contain census tract information. That second row with the variable labels, that actually presents a challenge for software to read these tables, and that's something we're going to talk about in the next section.